What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be doing my way too early 2021 NASCAR playoff predictions. I know the season just ended yesterday, but it's not too early to start making playoff predictions for next season. And there are a lot of drivers who honestly could make the playoffs next year. I look at 24, 25 drivers on this lineup since this lineup is extremely stacked. But I believe that the 16 drivers who I have making the playoffs are going to be the 16 drivers that make the playoffs next year, and I'm going to tell you why these drivers are going to make it, and then I will go through the 8 or 9 drivers that will not make the playoffs next year and tell you why those guys are not going to make it. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first 9 or 10 drivers are extremely obvious, and as the list goes on, it's going to be very tough to tell. So let's start off. Number 1, this is obvious. Your 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Chase Elliott, is going to be the first one that makes it. I look at the upcoming schedule for next year, and Chase Elliott is going to be the guy to beat on the road courses. He has been the road course king, and not only that, Chase Elliott has been really good on the short tracks. I believe that Chase Elliott will be the number 1 seed next year, and I think he's arguably the favorite going into the season already for 2021 to go back-to-back. I think Chase Elliott will be the number 1 seed. He'll be the first driver to get into the playoffs. The second driver that's going to get in is going to be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is coming off an incredible 9-win season in 2020, and while I don't think he's going to win 9 races like he did this past season, I think that Kevin Harvick will be extremely strong in 2021. I still think he's going to get 4 or 5 wins next year, and I think Kevin Harvick will make the playoffs once again next year. The third driver that's going to get in is a driver that was second best most of the year, Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is coming off of a 7-win 2020 season. He came up just 2 or 3 spots short of winning the championship. Again, Hamlin was not very fast at Phoenix. That being said, I think they're going to be really strong once again, and I think that Denny Hamlin will make the playoffs once again next year. The fourth driver that's going to get into the playoffs, in my honest opinion, is going to be Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski did really impress me this year, not just because he kept his consistency of winning races like he'd done in the past years, but Brad Keselowski had a new crew chief this past year with Jeremy Bullins. They worked together a lot in the past. I think a lot of people thought they were going to struggle. And he succeeded and almost won the championship. Came up just short of winning the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series championship. I think Brad Keselowski brings that same speed, and I think he will once again make the playoffs next year. The fifth driver that's going to make it is going to be Joey Logano. Joey Logano has always made a playoff since joining Team Penske in 2013. Granted, 2013 was very controversial. I think it's pretty obvious. I think Joey Logano will make the playoffs in 2021 as well. I think he's going to be good on the super speedways. I think he's going to be good on the larger tracks as well. I think Joey Logano makes the playoffs next year. The sixth driver that's going to make it next year is going to be Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. this past year, while he didn't get a lot of wins next year, he was an extremely consistent driver, and I believe that consistency is going to help Martin Truex Jr. make the playoffs next year. I think Martin Truex Jr. will also improve on the wins. I think he gets at least 2 or 3 wins next year, and I think that he'll keep his success like he did in Martinsville, and I think Martin Truex Jr. will make the playoffs this year. He was just one loose wheel or flat tire short from making the Final Four last year. Just didn't have the speed this past year, but I think Martin Truex Jr. will make the playoffs this upcoming season. The 7th driver that's going to make it is going to be Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch won't take him as long to win a race next year. I think he gets in early in the year. I believe Kyle Busch will make it back in. I'm not certain it's going to be Adam Seaman who's going to be the crew chief for them next year, but I believe that Kyle Busch will obviously make the playoffs this year. He's not missed the playoffs, in my knowledge, since 2012. He's always made it since we've had the 16-man chase. I think he'll make it in. I think he gets 2 or 3 wins next year, and I believe that Kyle Busch will make it into the playoffs next year once again. The 8th driver that is going to make it into the playoffs is going to be Ryan Blaney. While the second half of the year for Ryan Blaney wasn't ultimately fantastic, and they did not make it past the round of 16 last season, which just ended 2 days ago, I believe Ryan Blaney will still make the playoffs next year. I think Blaney's going to win more races next year. I just think there was a lot of bad luck that hit him this past year. I don't think that bad luck comes from him. I think he gets a couple wins next year, and I think Ryan Blaney will once again make the playoffs in 2020. The 9th driver that is going to make it into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, I think is going to be Alex Bowman. Now, Alex Bowman, I think, is going to improve on his wins next year. I think he gets a couple wins in the 2020 season. Alex Bowman in the second half of the year was just extremely consistent. Moving over to that 48 car, I know it's going to still be the 88 team, but I think they're going to have the same speed. Hendrick and ECR are teaming up this year with their engine program, and I think that is going to really help Alex Bowman make the playoffs. I believe that Alex Bowman will make the playoffs once again in 2020. And I think, like I said, we'll get a couple wins here in 2020. The 10th driver that is going to get in is going to be Kurt Busch. Now, this actually probably will be Kurt Busch's last playoff run to get in the NASCAR playoffs, as this is going to be Kurt Busch's final season as a NASCAR Cup Series driver. I believe that this will be Kurt Busch's final year. I don't think Kurt Busch is going to race in 2022. I know he has wanted to race with the next-gen car, but remember, the next-gen car is getting pushed back to 2021, I believe. 2022, I believe. Yeah, next car is getting pushed back to 2022. It was supposed to come out in 2021. If Kurt wanted to race with the next-gen car, but he will not be racing with that car in 2022, so I think it retires after the 2021 season. Kurt Busch, I think, will have a better year overall. I think he will win a race and get into the playoffs. I think he'll win before he did like he did in Vegas to get to the round of 8. He had a pretty successful 2020, was able to win at, I think it was at Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, was really, really strong there. And I think Kurt Busch will keep that same speed up, and I think he will make the playoffs next year. The 11th driver that I think is going to make the playoffs is going to be Aric Almirola. Now, Aric Almirola was extremely consistent in 2020, was really, really consistent. I think that he will have that same speed. I think he also will finally win a race here, you know. I think he really was just close to winning our tracks like Pocono and like Talladega was really, really fast at those tracks. Had like top 5s, top 10s. Granted, the random draw definitely did help him. And I think the help that he had a lot of good starting spots, but he kept that speed up. I think Aric Almirola will once again make the playoffs here in 2021. The 12th driver that is going to make the playoffs is the newest addition to Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson. I think Kyle Larson is going to be really, really strong next year. I don't even think he's going to be the 12th best driver of the year. I think he's going to be a top 8 driver most of the season. I think there's a few tracks to look where Kyle Larson can win. I think he gets it on and wins alone. I think he's going to be a really top 5, top 10 driver most of the season. Kyle Larson, I look at Bristol Dirt Race, I look at Homestead. While I don't think it's going to take him, as long to get up to speed like it took Matt Kenseth to get up to speed. I think that Kyle Larson will have a lot of speed, and I believe that Kyle Larson will win a couple races next year, and he will get in the playoffs. And I believe that Kyle Larson is going to be in the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. The 13th driver that is going to get into your NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is going to be Matt DiBenedetto. I think Matt DiBenedetto is going to improve. The biggest reason Matt DiBenedetto really struggled this past season was because of the fact that there really wasn't practice or qualifying, but he really in the second half of this year, especially in the final few races, really turned it on. He was showing a lot of speed. He gets an opportunity to perform once again at Wood Brothers, but remember, he will not be returning Wood Brothers in 2022. So Matt DiBenedetto, really this upcoming season, is going to need to perform, and I believe that Matt DiBenedetto will improve on his stats in the past year, and I believe that he will win a track like Las Vegas or Bristol. He was really good at Bristol this past year, and he was really good at Las Vegas. He almost won at Las Vegas. So I believe that Matt DiBenedetto will have an extremely good opportunity of getting into the playoffs, and I believe that Matt DiBenedetto will be the 13th driver to get into the playoffs in 2021. Final 3 positions are arguably the toughest positions because I had a hard time picking the final 3 spots right here. I think there's 8 or 9 guys that obviously could be in the running for these final 3 spots. I think, like I said, it's really going to be tough to tell who gets into playoffs next year. And I think any of the drivers in the playoffs have constantly not make it. It's very, very possible if that's the case. But we get into the final 3 drivers. So the 14th driver that I think is going to make it into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is going to be Christopher Bell. I believe that Jason Ratcliffe is going to move over to that 20 car next year with Christopher Bell. He's been with Christopher Bell since the beginning of his career at Joe Gibbs Racing. I believe he moves over with Christopher Bell. I think Christopher Bell gets at least 1 or 2 wins this year. I think he wins a couple races. I believe that Christopher Bell will take a major improvement after not a fantastic 2020 season. Granted, I think Levine is not as strong of a team. I think, like I said, Jason Ratcliffe moves over with him, and I believe that Christopher Bell will make the playoffs here in the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season. The 15th driver that is going to make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. This is going to maybe be a shocker for some of you and not a shocker for some of you. I believe that with 23XI Racing, Bubba Wallace is going to make the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And here's why I believe he's going to make it. While right away they're not going to be super, super strong, I look at the super speedway tracks. I think they're going to be strong there. I look at some of like the bigger tracks on some of the smaller tracks as well. Bubba Wallace is good in Martinsville. There's a few tracks I really look at. Like I said, I don't think right away they're going to be a top tier team. I think it's going to take some time for that team to really get up to speed. But I think as year goes on, they're going to get more competitive. I think, like I said, look at some of the upcoming tracks like Martinsville and Bristol. I think they're going to be super strong. I believe that Bubba Wallace will make the playoffs. I have a really good feeling, and I feel extremely confident about Bubba Wallace's opportunity to make the playoffs in 2021. And now the final driver who I think is going to make the playoffs. He's getting a new crew chief this year. I believe that William Byron, with the help from Rudy Fiegel, he is going to be the final driver to make the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. I look at the duo of Rudy Fiegel and William Byron. Rudy Fiegel has worked with William Byron in the past, and I feel extremely confident that with the help from Rudy Fiegel, I believe that William Byron will make the playoffs. I just have a good feeling. Look at the road course tracks. William Byron is extremely strong on the road courses, and there's 6 of them this year. Granted, not all of them are in the playoffs. There's one of them in the playoffs, but he's going to have 5 opportunities to win. There's going to be a few tracks where practice will come into play. I think with that practice, that will help William Byron, and I believe that William Byron is going to be the final driver to get into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So now, let's talk about the drivers who are not going to make the playoffs. There's 9 of them in particular that I feel like could have a shot at making it, but I do not believe are going to make it. So the first one that's not going to make it is going to be Ross Chastain. Now, while I think Ross Chastain will do pretty well with this team next year, with the competition factor, I do not believe Ross Chastain will make the playoffs here. I think he'll do better than Matt Kenseth did, but I don't think he'll do enough to get in the playoffs. I think he's just going to miss it by this much. It's going to be really, really close. I don't think Ross Chastain makes the playoffs next year. Second driver who doesn't make it, in my honest opinion, is going to be Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is going to be a rookie, and while he did dominate the NASCAR Xfinity Series, I just don't think he's going to have enough to make it next year. I think he'll do pretty well. I think he's going to show a lot of speed. I think those SHR cars are going to show a little more speed next year, but I don't think that Chase Briscoe will do enough to make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs this upcoming season. The third driver that doesn't make it is Eric Jones. I think Eric Jones is pretty obvious. I know that Eric Jones will show some pretty good speed at some of the short tracks and maybe some of the super speed as well. We know that RCR's program, they're basically running ECR Hendrick Endis next year. They're probably going to have decent speed, but I don't think they're going to do enough, and I think Eric Jones misses the playoffs next year. Tyler Reddick is next. Now, in my honest opinion, I think Tyler Reddick takes major improvements next year. I think they're going to be more consistent next year. But with how many winners I think they're going to be early in the year, I don't think Tyler Reddick makes it. I think he's just going to miss it next year. Cole Custer's next. Cole Custer got in very lucky last year. I don't think he really earned the position. I think he got in because of the win at Kentucky, because of the win in Urine stuff. I think they're going to do a little bit worse than they did last year in the second half. I don't think Cole Custer makes it. Let me disagree with myself there. I think he's going to improve, but I don't think he's going to make it in next year. Up next, Austin Dillon. While Austin Dillon had an incredible playoff run, it was pretty good last year. And I think, like I said, ECR and Hendrick Endis are going to make those cars better next year. I do not feel extremely confident about Austin Dillon. I think he does not make the playoffs next season. Up next, Daniel Suarez. While I think Trackhouse Racing will show some speed next year, and I think they'll probably start where Germain is next year and then gradually improve, I don't think they make it, and I think they struggle at some points in the 2020 year. I don't think they make the playoffs. Chris Buescher and Ryan Newman are the final 2 drivers. Now, first, Chris Buescher. I don't feel confident about the Roush cars. The Roush cars were not too fast this past year. Chris Buescher extremely struggled. I don't think he makes it. And finally, Ryan Newman. I don't expect Newman to make it. He completely struggled last year. I think this is Newman's final opportunity to make it. I don't think Ryan Newman will make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs in the 2021 season. So, yeah, those are my way too early 2021 NASCAR Cup Series playoff predictions. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications so you can be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Links description below for that, and comment your predictions below in the comments. Who do you think is going to make it into the NASCAR playoffs? Who do you think is not going to make it into the NASCAR playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. A lot of end of the year videos for the end of the 2020 season will be coming out here very shortly on the channel. I plan on doing a video ranking every NASCAR Cup Series driver. That'll either be out tomorrow or Wednesday. Expect that video to be out here very soon. And a lot of other stuff for the end of the 2020 season. Expect that to be coming out here very shortly. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.